Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. James, do you want to do?
Yes, please. Councilmember Bailey.
He's absent.
Councilmember Dolan.
Present.
Councilmember Holmes.
Yes.
Councilmember Kennis.
Yes, sir.
Council President.
Yes.
Make a motion to excuse Dave Bailey. Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Helmus, supported by Kennis. All in favor?
Aye.
Post same sign.
Aye.
Okay, approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
We have a motion by Helmus, supported by Dolan. All in favor?
Aye.
Post same sign. Call of the public on non-agenda items. Okay. New business. Interview for clerk, treasury vacancy. Leanne, you want to go up to the podium and?
Welcome and.
Okay,
That'll be helpful.
that helps.
Do you want to kind of tell us about yourself and your experiences
Sure.
to start?
I'm Leanne Connor. I started my civil service career in 1988 at the City of Royal Oak in their clerk's office. I was there for 7.5 years. And in 1995, I was appointed the city clerk in the City of Ferndale, where I was there for 3.5 years. For a stint, I went to the court across the street and worked for 1.5 years. The reason for that is that my 7-year-old daughter had an illness that I needed to take a step back from being a clerk and do a regular job while we got through that. Then in 2001, Rochester came available, and I have been there for 16 years, so I'm 17 now.
Susan, do you want us to ask questions?
You can, this is kind of open. You can, James had some suggestions here. If you've got your own, go right ahead.
And now that I think about it, would it be helpful if you knew what I did in those jobs?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was going to be my first
All
question.
right. At Royal Oak, I started off answering the switchboard, but I understand those don't exist anymore. But I slowly, through those 7.5 years, worked my way through each of the jobs that was in the office, through elections, through birth and death records, business licenses, pet licenses, and you can imagine the size of Royal Oak, 60,000 people. Each one of those jobs was really quite large and time-consuming. In Royal Oak, we issued about 10,000 absentee ballots each election, so that was a pretty big deal. Then in Ferndale, as I became clerk, I of course became clerk to the council, attended all the meetings, did the minutes. Also was clerk for ZBA, Civil Service Board. They elected a charter revision commission while I was there. Of course, pet licenses, elections. Then at the court, I was just administrative assistant to the judge. And then as I came to Rochester, the usual front office, I was actually part of the front office, so along with the finance staff and the building department clerk. I was clerk to the council, so we did all that with ordinances, resolutions, contracts, agreements, and still do. Pet licenses. When Rochester, that was right at their boom. When I came there, their census was 7,500 and some people. Now it's 12,000, some 300 people. So the town literally almost doubled since I've been there. So with each one of those tasks, it grew and grew and grew. So, and then of course elections. At each location that I went to, the number of precincts and the amount of election work shrunk, so that was awesome. So I went from 10,000 absentee ballots down to 3,000 absentee ballots down to 700 absentee ballots. So And that's a big gauge for election work. And then in 2010, when our parks person retired and we weren't going to replace them, I became co-administrator with our DPW director for the cemetery. So with that, we did a lot of projects over at the cemetery, replaced trash cans, repaired headstones. We worked with Ram Construction to retuck point and replace the roof on the Mausoleum building, coordinated tree removals, just anything and everything that could be done in the cemetery we accomplished between 2010 and 2015. So that's something I pride myself on, because it was a pretty big deal. Something tangible that I could actually see. So that's where I'm at right now.
Why are you interested in this position?
So I have several reasons. Two are fairly selfish in that village clerks don't do elections. And after working elections for 28 years, if I cannot do a 20-hour election day, that would be wonderful. I by no means think that this is going to be easy coming here. It will certainly be a challenge, but focusing away from elections onto the treasurer's duties, it's something I welcome and look forward to. The other reason is you're open Monday through Thursday with Fridays off. I've worked full-time for 33 years, and that's appealing as well. But the biggest thing is I think with my experience and my knowledge and my willingness to learn what you have for me to do is I can help you. I would create stability when I come here. I know front office work. I manage people well. I have good leadership skills, teamwork skills. So I think that would help.
Okay. Eric?
Ms. O'Connor, what research have you done in regards to our community? And based upon that research, what have you learned? And then there will be a follow-up question to that, and the follow-up would be based upon that information. Have you set any personal occupational goals that you would like to achieve if you secure this position?
Okay, so research that I have done, of course, looked at your website, front end, and every link that you could possibly have. I have come here to your council meeting to see how you operate. I attended the interview for the city manager's position that you had, mainly so I could tell what you were going to make me do, which was helpful. I've taken a tour of the front office to kind of get a look around and where I could make improvements, and I'll be looking to ask if we can repaint and just clean up. I think, changing the environment might lift some spirits. Goals. Treasurers is where I really lack. Clerk stuff, I have that now. I've been doing it for 29 years. It's so low. I have looked to see that they have the same associations that clerks do with the county, state, and national levels. They have an institute program, just like the clerks did, where you go to an institute for an entire week each spring. There's a certification process that you can go through to be a certified public treasurer. As far as my goals, that's what my goal would be, is to learn to be as good a treasurer as I think I am a city clerk at this time.
Could you tell me the last time you attended professional development training?
Earlier this year.
Thank you very much.
I try to attend one or two things a year, and I always go to the county things that are mostly luncheons and they have that, but a conference or a class each year. I've kind of gotten away from the conferences because when you've gone to them for so many years, there's only so many times you can sit through parliamentary procedure and that kind of thing.
Sure.
But, my mantra too is you always learn something new. I went to the county clerk's lunch just last week and learned something new about the new voting equipment. And
Excellent.
I looked at my deputy and I'm like, that's why you come to these things. It's not for the food, it's not for the networking. And the clerks that say, hey, I did this. And then the other 50 can go, oh, that was a good idea. So I would look to do the same thing with treasurers for sure. I've already reached out as well to look for mentors and help with that. There's only one other clerk treasurer in Oakland County for a village, and that's in Holly. I spoke with her yesterday. She was consoling and supportive. And then the treasurer for the village of Old Green Lake is a gentleman who I worked with in Royal Oak. He was the treasurer there, my contact. So he, of course, is both are on board. Anybody's going to be on board to help you with this stuff. You just have to
Sure.
reach out and go, I need this. So, and how do I do this? And they both stated that the Oakland County Treasurer's Office is very supportive as well. So, you guys need someone who's going to be in the office and know when to cry for help.
Are you, what's your knowledge of BSNA? Do you work with that now?
Limited, we don't have that with our finance department area, but we're getting it, which is awesome. Our go-live date is in October, and the staff office training on it is in September, and I've already stated to the city manager and our finance director, especially if I get this job, can I sit in on your training and get trained on BSNA with taxes and utility billing and all that? That's, of course, is I certainly have to do that. And then as far as what I know of BSNA, in 2010, 2011, our building clerk went on sick leave, and it was good timing for us to implement BSNA building. So for that next year, myself and my deputy clerk worked to get that up and running and learn how to enter the building permits and enter template letters and that kind of thing. So I get the gist of, I know what a parcel ID number is, I know how to look up things. It's just a matter of, passwords and getting in there and refresher.
Right.
Because I have gotten away from that in the last 3 years.
So you have that type of relationship with the management, that they know that you're going after this?
Yes, when council president called me last Thursday, and it became a public meeting, I had to let my mayor know and my city manager know, and I went and told the directors because we're a team, I was like, okay guys, I'm going for this interview. Everyone has been very supportive. They know, I told them it's quality of life events. I mean, that things that would cause me to leave here. I'm happy where I'm at. I wasn't looking for a job, but then Mr. Vitrino, I have a clerk spot open in the Pittsburgh. So I thought, yeah, well, I gave it a thought, and I thought, it's going to be a challenge, but Mr. Dolan and I were talking, sometimes a change is good, and my career has already peaked. I will tell you that. I'm not looking to go anywhere else. I'd be looking to stay here for my last 9 remaining or 11 remaining years of working. I don't hop around, obviously, very much. So I would be looking for that commitment from you guys as well. I get the whole at-will thing, and obviously if I'm not doing a good job, that's a whole other thing. But I would be telling you that I'm looking to stay here for at least 9
It
years.
was not a loaded question. It was more respect.
Yes,
That you were
You
able
have
to do that, and
yeah, you have to.
that they supported you.
Absolutely.
That tells me a lot.
And even a step further, conversations with the manager when I was with you, we were talking about my payouts if I got it and that. He said, I'd rather you use your comp time rather than paid out, so maybe you could work there a few days, if you were to get it. So, immediately I would be able to be on site at least one day a week. See what you guys decide.
By the way, my career peaked when I was 20. I'm very happy for you.
Thank you.
I asked all my questions last time. I feel like I've already solved this.
Okay.
Ms. O'Connor, you've mentioned twice that you think that you could help the Village of Oxford with its quote-unquote problems. What do you perceive those problems to be? What is your understanding of the organizational situation? And how do you believe that you could assist?
So, you don't have unique problems. I think any municipality that loses its clerk and its manager at the same time is going to be in a crisis. And I don't say that despairingly, you're going to be in a crisis. I just think that's where you guys are at right now. I understand that you have your manager is not here, and the clerk are the only 2 full-time persons in the front office. You have the other part-time persons, and then you also understand one has already tried to leave, the other one is going to, which you know, from their point of view, that's understandable. You know, they don't have any direction, they don't have leadership, they're, you know, expected to float the boat. And so that's frustrating anywhere you go. I would look to relieve that. The sooner the better, first day. Well, you know, we're all here to do this, and I want to take back the responsibilities that have been given to them to fill those holes, so to speak. And again, if I'm appointed treasurer, I'm not going to sit here and be your clerk. You don't have much clerk responsibilities. I'm going to learn to be your treasurer as best I can, but I can't afford to fail at that. So I will do the best I can. But that's what I understand as far as the front office staff goes, is that, you know, crisis, you need some help.
Thank you.
Actually, you know, financial, it's almost like we're juggling, because we had a clerk who was fairly strong financially, also a clerk. We had a village manager that, now, I'm not gonna go into it, but, I would say from the clerk position, because we're not doing elections, financial, that background, that learning is going to be a huge challenge for you. And how will you do it to get up to that level?
Okay, as I said, the treasurers associations have the same setup.
Got that?
So I will be attending everything that they have and working with the other village treasurers to say, okay, what are you doing this month? I'm not going to wait until I screen, but work with them and go, what should I be looking for? And so I have kind of gotten the stones, if you will. I know it's obviously taxes. You guys do those once a year, and you only collect the village portion of it, so that's good. As compared to Rochester, we do it twice a year, although I'm not that involved with it other than to take the bills in over the counter. I know that there's water billing, you guys just sent out quarterly, so I expect that will be again in September. You know,
Monthly.
Monthly. We do monthly.
Okay then, so, I did not know that.
But we want to change it to quarterly, but they haven't been brought up until right now.
That's about all there is to it.
Okay. You send out the whole city monthly?
Yep.
Village.
Oh,
And then next month it gets busy again.
okay.
Further to that,
Mhm.
because you already answered that, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Have you worked with budgets, spreadsheets, any analysis in the past of them?
No, I will be honest, I am not a finance person. So, but I think there's a difference between a finance director, which you're looking for your manager to be, and your treasurer, who is more, send the bills out, collect the money in, make sure that that's going into BSNA, make the deposits at the bank. So that's what my expectation and thinking is. I don't have the ability to analyze anything, and I think that's what your manager's job or responsibility is. And of course, whatever, you'll be coming to me to ask for reports and that kind of thing, but other than that, I don't have the ability to analyze financial data, for sure.
But you can look at it. I'm not asking for
Yep.
all of the ratios or anything like that, but you understand spreadsheets,
Understand
costs,
funds.
follow up, where they are, how they're moving between.
So my experience,
Excel and
especially
everything, okay.
at Rochester, has been, I know the process of the budget process. I know the budget preparation, goals and objectives. When council then adopts the budget, I know the difference between fund enterprises and the debt service and those kinds of things. But to actually know what those numbers are, you know, yeah, we have $12 million in parking structure bonds, and I know what that debt service is in there, but beyond that, I don't have that knowledge. And I don't want you guys to hire me thinking I have that knowledge. I'm completely honest with you.
Ms. O'Connor, I have a hypothetical situation for you. As the clerk or the keeper of the records, how would you handle a situation in which an individual came into the office and was given permission to go into the basement to review records on their own?
You have to be present with them or bring the records up and at least let them be at the counter where you can observe them. You don't just leave your records to anyone in a non-public space. So no, that's,
And what if outside of your presence an employee allowed that to take place? How would you handle that
we
situation?
would have to redirect that employee to the right mode. And whenever, I tell my employees, you know, whenever there's a situation you're not familiar with, I am available by cell phone. So if I'm not there to make the decision, now I say that for something like that, or a FOIA or something like that. If it's a dog license where it's a case of the animal had cancer and you don't wait for the late fee, you know, use your discretion, or a park permit and somebody's in from out of town and they're gonna be there for one day, those kinds of decisions that, something like that, where it would be clear that some supervision should be given to that person, and I'm not, then you call me and you ask me what to do. And then I would communicate with that person and say, okay, what time frame do you need this by? You know, do you need it right now? And if so, it depends on what I'm doing, whether I would come here and take care of it, or, you know, make arrangements for them to do it another time, and even outside of business hours. I often, through elections, it's easier to tell people that need an absentee ballot that are, you know, going out of town to say, I'll meet you here outside of office hours. That's just easier. Take the 2 minutes, satisfy the customer, and then let them go.
More specifically, as our records are all in the basement, unscanned, would you just allow someone to go down by their own to hypothetically review anything they chose?
No, because you don't know what's exempt under the FOIA, so no, they can't.
Thank you.
But again, public records are for the public to see, so you've got to get them
Sure.
access somehow. But no, there's confidential, and there's, even with voter records, their voter's birth date is on there. They're only allowed to see a birth year. So, you know, you can't just hand them that information and here you go.
How would you handle the situation if the employee said, no big deal, it's just Joe Blow?
No, it's still the same thing. It's still the same situation. There's still confidential information that, you know, clerk, attorney, and employees are only supposed to know.
Thank you.
How many people presently report directly to you or dotted line to clerk?
I have a full-time deputy city clerk. I've had that position since 2011. My last deputy clerk just moved on to executive assistant to the city manager in February. So I've had a couple over the few years. And when you count elections, election day, this last election, I had a good 60 election workers. That includes recruiting, training, and we're talking about elections that really need to know what they're doing so that.
And what about any other office staff, administrators?
Through 2012 to 2015, I supervised the building clerk as well. So, and then we transferred her back to the economic development director during that time. So,
That was my next question.
sure.
Thank you. Are you related to that?
No. Thank you for asking.
Do you want me to get closer
No, I'm.
or further away?
No, it's not.
Did you have any questions, James?
Thank you.
I don't know.
I have a few more.
Ask them.
What is your proficiency in other software other than BSNA?
Like Word and Outlook. And
Excel, things of that
Excel.
nature, correct?
Yeah, I can't create formulas in Excel, but I'm familiar with the columns and the rows and using it. Outlook, we use that at Rochester to communicate among department heads, among the public. So I'm quite familiar with that. Obviously, the work as a clerk, that's something I'm very familiar with. I use an access program for our pet licenses. We're going to switch that over to the BSNA program, so I look forward to that. I did not create that program, I just know how it works, so. That's it. Those are the biggies, right?
While you're on the road, let me just do a little follow.
Sure.
Excel, you have no problems if there's an Excel program in place.
Correct,
You could add, subtract.
correct.
Look
Make
at
new
it,
sheets.
Make the routine changes.
Correct.
Okay. Stop typing with one finger with me.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't.
I was just trying to help you with that.
That's okay.
I have one last question. There is a perception that part of the problem of our village is the need to break away from the mentality of quote-unquote, this is how it's always been done. I happen to hold that as being a problem of our village. Do you consider yourself of strong enough character to break away from that pattern and conduct things in the appropriate fashion as directed? Or do you see a problem with falling into the way things have always been done?
No, I don't do things, you'll never hear me say the old clerk did it that way. For one, anything that a government entity does, there's a law or policy or something that says why you can do it, how you can do it, when you can do it. So I would look, especially in this circumstances, to go back to that original law and say, okay, this is the way it's supposed to be done. I would be looking, especially in the treasurer's area, since I'm learning it brand new, to bring you the best practices that are out there. And no, I've never been one to go, that's the way it's always been done. That drives me insane. Even my pet licenses, after a few years, I read through the ordinance, but then I realized that the old clerk had gotten the due date wrong, February 28th versus March 1st. So you always have to go back to that original, why you get to do it. You know, how safety you offer, but there's a reason why you do what you do. And in turn, when you get questioned on it, then you go, this is why. This is done this way. That it's not because I didn't like it, or it was in a pretty color, or something else. It's this. There's a reason why.
Thank you very much.
And I welcome James to let me know that I can stand up for myself.
That was
It's in
a
a very
total
good-
setup question. But I'm going to do a follow-up on Eric's. I really believe that would be a very nice fit for all of us.
Me?
We're gonna need somebody to be very strong because we've been in between for a long time within this village. I am gonna ask James to comment. Could you set him up?
I give him permission to
But
comment.
I would like you to, as a follow-up to Eric's question, just
Uh-huh.
kind of, I don't know, show me, some strength, and we need you to not just fight back with, and I'm not even talking about fighting.
You need a leader. You need
We
someone who's going to
we
take.
need two leaders.
Yes.
We need a clerk and a strong village manager, which we have right now temporarily.
And you will,
And I'm very proud that he's on our team. But how you gonna work together and not just by council and everyone else, but bring it together, and I keep using the word fight, but
I understand.
stand up and make things better for, I'm done with my question, I rambled.
That's
I was.
I didn't notice.
Comfortable.
That's what you
My-
pay
my-
us for.
No, my question was, basically, a moving process, it's going to be very difficult. And, you know, how are you going to stand up to your beliefs while making things better?
Well, again, you start with, why are we doing this? And then you come up with the how, or the better how. And as far as working with a new manager, you have to defer respect to him because he is the manager. But at the
Or
same
her.
time, or her, but at the same time, I don't think, I'm not his secretary, but I'm his partner. I'm there to support him. I'm there to, okay, what do we need to do? You're in the budget process. I do that now with our new manager. He's never been a manager before. He was an HR director out of Chicago. And, you know, as the budget process proceeded, because I've sat through it for 16 years, I know the timeline in my head. And I go, you're supposed to be at this point. You need to be at this point. You need to be at this point. You know, and through his questions of what am I doing, what can I do better, it's been, you need to focus on the budget and the process that's in place. So, you know, I'm sitting in meetings with department heads and, you know, this last year, we floundered a bit with our budget the year before. And so when we started with the schedule, I'm like, you can't wait until March to do your goals and objectives if you have to have a budget to the council in April. And that's more guidance, especially in our structure, but here I think would be more of a, you know, we need to do this. So if you need me in here on a Saturday, then just say it. You know, that's what we, the work doesn't go away because you're open from Monday through Thursday. That's a great perk, but I fully expect I'm going to be in here other than that.
Anybody else have any questions?
I'd like to hear from James. Well, no, I was going to say the big boss. I was trying to figure out the right thing regarding that, because I think we're going to need two strong people as we move forward. So.
Would you be more comfortable with that thing?
No.
Neither would I.
With response to the very specific question on, you know, strength and leadership, I've got no doubt that Leanne exhibited those characteristics when I had the opportunity to work with her at Rochester. I'll say more broadly, I do have more information on Leanne than any candidate you would interview. We were a part of the same team for 7.5 years. And I can list some of the coaching opportunities I had with her, and I can list some of the awesome qualities she has, but I would not have called her, and I would not have had the resume go to the committee had I not thought that this was an opportunity both for her because I care about her and for this community. So if you want me to get into, you know, our coaching opportunity that we had, I'm not going to go there, and I'm also not going to lament on how great she is in certain ways. That's for you guys to determine through the interview process. I'll just say I would not allow an interview of a candidate that I didn't think could do the job. That's part of my responsibility that you guys have asked of me.
Thank you. Now you can leave.
Ms. O'Connor, I do appreciate you taking the time today. I apologize for the number of questions, but I do think it's important to get it right. I'm not in favor of a get-to-know session. I want to know particular answers. I think with where we are, which I don't think is dire, but critical, I think it's important to get it right. And I personally only want the best. And I appreciate you taking the time to answer those questions.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. Again.
I have a couple questions. How does administration communicate with council? Do you guys use Outlook as that means of communication? Or we-
Smoke signals.
Smoke signals? Okay, I can learn that. But no, do you have Outlook here?
Yes.
Okay, then I'd be looking to get y'all going on that, so that you get used to looking and communicating that way. In your advertisement, it talks about an annual evaluation. Tell me about that process, how you do that. Is there a tool that you use where you check off the boxes that, you know, yes, they have the strengths, or is it just a conversation once a year that you have? would you be open to a proposed tool, so to speak, that would give you, help guide you with that?
We're open to anything.
Okay.
We do have a list of responsibilities for the clerk. At this point, it's the clerk. We'd have to tweak it a little bit, but we review that in November and do an evaluation, and then give the goals for the next year. That's how it operates. And it's your choice whether it's closed session or not.
Correct.
Right, and it's pretty formalized, but we're definitely willing to learn and tweak it that we have over the past 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
Many times, and it's gotten better and better, so
Okay.
hopefully there's not too many tweaks, but
All right.
we're open to it.
So you know what you're getting into. My perception's a little bit different than that. I believe right now it is nothing more than an ambiguous conversation with no accountability whatsoever. Each year, several things are asked and added to the list. There's no accountability throughout the year to determine whether anyone was held to the standard. And that's just calling it what it is and trying to be honest. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. I personally believe a tool, which is regularly updated as necessary. I personally would love to see suggestions presented to council.
Okay, very good. How many DPW, oh,
I just got a comment on it, because I'm not totally disagreeing, but part of the reason is because of the flux we've had, and we don't track it.
okay.
So Eric is absolutely right on many things, but there's enough in place where if we tracked it, it's a good enough setup after being in business for 40 years that we can make it a very, very good tool. We just don't track it because of all the turmoil and changeover we've had within our village. So
I think an important tool for that would be a monthly report. I see on your agenda, your clerk's report. You know, more than just pet licenses would do. I think you need to know what I've been doing and what I'm looking forward to do going forward. How many DPW and police officers do you have? I'm looking for help.
5 DPW,
Yeah.
the chief, and 3 full-time police officers. And 2 full-time police officers right now.
2 full-time
Two
police
full.
officer, and then we have about 10 reserve
several reserves.
part-times.
I think it's 7
Part-time.
part-time and 11 reserves.
And last, is there any big projects going on in town? Anything being, I
Not
understand,
really anything.
I understand M24,
Right.
but not, is there any big apartment buildings, subdivisions, anything? Yes.
Yeah, we have 2 big projects. Clearview is building 16 homes on some property that the village just sold them over next to our industrial park. And then we have a developer who is putting in a development on East Burdick Street with parking lot, retail, office, and condos on the top.
How many stories?
3-story,
Three
3-story.
stories? Okay.
3 buildings, 3 stories.
And have both of these
First
projects
one's
gone through the site plan approval process at city council or at planning commission level?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Plus, we have growth in a couple subdivisions where there's many vacant lots.
Okay.
And as almost everyone knows, we're going to be doing development on M24 coming up. And
That, building face to building face,
Yes.
and are you guys closing
Front to
down?
front.
I learned these words from James, watching him go through
Yeah,
ours,
we
but-
haven't got that far in the planning process yet.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
good question.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, very good. I will leave you in debate.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome, thank you. All right, Chief.
Get back so you don't.
We lost our president.
Excuse me?
We lost our president.
He's back.
Can you make a motion? Yeah, let's start it right now.
Where did she go?
Thank to everyone. I mean, Mo had to go to the bathroom. Do you want a motion to leave, or should we have any further discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to extend a conditional offer of employment to Leanne O'Connor. For the position of clerk/treasurer.
Okay, I'll second that.
Uh,
Or
May-
you want to?
I'll second it.
May I offer an extension of that motion?
Absolutely, sir.
With those conditions to be discussed by the village attorney and council president for the terms to be returned to council for their consideration of an employment agreement
And the village manager, yes, sir, yeah,
or
I amend
employment
the-
offer.
yes.
I amend the original motion to include the caveats stated by the interim manager.
Thank you.
Support.
Mo?
I think we're gonna have to reread that and do.
Yeah,
roll
can you-
call.
Sure.
Yeah. Eric made the motion and Tom seconded it. Yeah, sorry. Did you write it down?
I will read the motion as I shorthanded it. Conditional offer of employment to candidate Leanne O'Connor for the position of clerk treasurer, with those conditions to be considered by the village attorney and the village president, and for them to return to council an employment offer for its consideration. And I will try and write it that way in the minutes, but it will be very close.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion by Dolan, supported by Kennis. Can you do roll call, please?
Thank you. Councilmember Kennis.
Yes.
Councilmember Helmuth.
Yes.
Councilmember Dolan.
Yes.
Council President.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Would it be appropriate to bring the candidate back in?
I
Bob's gonna have to speak to her, I would think.
don't believe
Yeah.
so. Well, may I ask one more
Watson,
question? Would it be
Richard.
appropriate
Correct.
to have any further discussion outside of council, one-on-one with the candidate prior to this? If there's any questions, I'm talking to Madam President. How's that? I've never come to that before.
Well, I think what we need to do is make the offer, and then it's conditional on coming up with a contract with her, and I think that that's where Bob comes in.
My thought being that this is an open meeting, and we could at least share the motion that's been presented to the candidate.
Right. No problem. Do you want to read the motion exactly?
Thank you. Conditional offer of employment to be made to candidate Leanne O'Connor for the position of clerk treasurer. Conditions to be addressed by the village attorney and council president, and for a employment offer to come back to village council with terms for their consideration. And it was unanimously passed by those present.
And I don't think I got a chance to tell you either, so I can give my 30 days notice once you guys have an agreement, because I sure don't want to go
Sure.
tell my council and then us not be able to reach an agreement, which I don't think is not going to happen. But there's some questions about how
We
fair.
all understand that, and that's why I asked about your openness with the city that you worked with so closely for many years.
So you guys have a meeting next week, so if Bob and I can get together and get that hammered out and before you, look, I'm already telling Dave what to do.
Doesn't take long.
We'll
Some
try.
things never change.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That's
Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation with you today.
Okay, very good. And was it unanimous?
Yes.
Okay, like, I didn't want to,
If it wasn't,
I would have reached out to that person and, you know, said,
I would never tell you.
It's minutes, it's on tape.
Just when you started to relax.
Drew does a really bad job on minutes, so we can affect
I
that.
did. Drew's our intern and has his office right next door. I already told him I'd help him.
So it's a learning process.
Okay.
thank you very much.
All right, wonderful. You guys have a
Thank you for all your time.
You too.
Thank you. All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
I'll see
See
you
you
tomorrow.
Sure was gonna tell her anyway.
No, not if you told me not to.
Okay. Verbal report on search committee regarding the interim village manager search. We had interviews last Friday, I think it was, wasn't it, Mo? Last Friday. We interviewed one in person and one on the phone. And we're going to invite them back to have full council, both of them, to have full council interview them. One is within driving distance, and the other gentleman is from Chicago. And I asked him to put together a cost of getting here in a car. And he came up with a cost, and that was 3 days ago. So airline tickets could change, but he came up with a thing of $430. So what I'd like council to do is authorize the expenditure of, say, up to 500, because I don't know how fast airline tickets change. Could go down, could go more than 430.
If I may.
Pete has a question.
Oh, Pete.
Just a quick comment, when we interviewed Joe Frost for the DDA, comes from Indiana, River Times, we never gave up any.
And Sue, I would like to see, and you and I discussed this briefly, I would just like to see every candidate, every resume. I know we have a team, but it'd just be nice to look at it. And when you guys bring somebody in, I would like to be more prepared than, seeing it a day or two before. And maybe I might see something that you guys as a group do not see. And there is no way I'm gonna make a determination of pay, fly somebody in for $500, without seeing or knowing anything about it, because I was not involved in your verbal interview discussions.
Well, we can
If
share
I-
those with you. I don't have a problem.
If I may
Share.
mention
Yep, go ahead.
something. Just to clarify the process and where you are with these candidates. These are not individual candidates necessarily for a position. They're through a temporary servicing firm that works with government municipalities. So these would be individuals that are here on an interim basis, similar to what, you would have in a private sector with the Kelly Services. It's the best example I can give, but this is a company that services government entities, including interim management services. Your contract obligation would be with that entity and not with that individual. If you like the individual, then you proceed with a relationship, and at any point you can tell the company, we don't like this individual. You can send another, you can take it back. You can negotiate with that entity also if the decision is among this body that you want to interview two and you won't pay for expenses, that should be delivered back to that entity of GovHR as opposed to the individual candidates. I think we need to clarify this of where you are. You have a separate process going on to identify a future and ongoing village manager position in a permanent nature.
Yes, sir.
Just to clarify what the difference is between the two processes that are happening. I have recommended, and it was included in your packet at your last meeting, that you consider an interim management services while you investigate a permanent manager that meets all of your criteria. That interim manager, again, would be through a service and be employed through that service. I'd be happy to take questions to that, but I just wanted to, and that travel piece, that discussion, you should have it. You should render a decision. Sue and Bob should then give that back to the company and let them decide what they want to do with that information. as well as whatever fees are suggested by the company, which isn't necessarily the compensation for that individual. I'll give, without belaboring it, I'll just give one more piece. Similar to you're purchasing my services as my company as opposed to me. It's hard to differentiate the two for me because I'm a one-person or a two-person LLC, and I may send my wife here sometimes, but that's what you're purchasing. This is a larger entity that you're purchasing services from, potentially. So I hope that clarifies. I'd be happy for questions.
I would concur with Councilmember Kennis 100% in this. While I do believe in some circumstances it's worth the financial expenditures to invest in a candidate, in a situation like this, a candidate has no skin in the game if we've covered all their weekend costs for a trip for a short-term period of time. I would not be inclined to favor that, and I certainly would not be inclined to put up expenses for the duration of the period of time that that candidate was mentioning this community, not knowing what we have. I would also concur with Councilmember Kennis. While I do not necessarily believe it is always feasible to share every bit of information, I also would like myself to be more involved in the candidate search because we are a small enough entity in which philosophical differences, and there are many, could exclude a candidate in which at one point or another there could be consensus for. I feel that the committee is doing a valuable service and that they are all cognitively capable. However, I feel with as small as we are, there needs to be greater input from the body who's ultimately going to be making that decision, as opposed to receiving a packet 18 hours prior to when we're going to interview that person.
And I agree, we also have to do both. We need to find an interim manager. There's no way, I couldn't even pay you under the table to keep you here, James. I'd even throw in my caps, but we need to do both simultaneously, find somebody to come in as a manager, because if we do hire a new clerk, he's going to be vulnerable. We need somebody in that position to work in the interim while we find the perfect prospect. And if we do, and we need to fly somebody in that we think is great based on the team's decision, I am willing to support, some of their fees, but I just don't want to do it without at least having the ability to look at their credentials and resume prior to.
If I may, sir.
Other than that, I think you guys are right on track.
If I may, just to clarify my status and availability in reaction to that, I've enjoyed and will continue to serve Oxford in the office over the next couple of weeks. My availability has everything to do with my other obligation with my full-time employer, which is Rochester College, come August. I will make myself available for this municipality. I've got a soft spot now for Oxford that I will always have on an hourly basis, but it can't be, I can't provide office service. And you need, and this is my second piece, not in reaction to your statement, you need office presence on a consistent basis. How you go about getting that interim service come August, I leave to you. And if again, communicate with this one entity. Maybe we find other temporary service agencies. I like it because it's a test run with no obligation. It's also an opportunity to engage a company and not an individual. I encourage you to take your motion either to pay expenses or not back to GovHR, inform them of the decision, allow them to react. If you choose to then schedule interviews for those that meet your directive of they have to come to the village for the interview, allow the scheduling to happen next Tuesday under whatever conditions you wish. But I believe that would be the motion that hopefully would help council president and village attorney work through how they get you two candidates for next week.
So you'd be looking for motion now to provide direction.
That would be my recommendation.
In that case, I would make a motion to advise GovHR of the desires of council, which would be the potential candidates, provide their own logistical transportation to any interview, and subsequent arrangements to be made as a result of the results of those interviews. Does that even make sense?
Is there a second?
James, can you read that back?
Candidates to provide, to inform GovHR that the Village of Oxford is interested in them providing candidates for interview, provided that the candidates provide logistical transportation for the interview and their subsequent logistical needs if engaged. And I would ask Councilmember Dolan to tell me that that is close
Nay.
or correct.
I had actually left out the subsequent needs because I feel that there could be an instance in which if a candidate is substantial, we might reevaluate that. So the original motion only pertained to costs of logistical travel
For the interview.
and then to be reviewed from that
Perfect.
point.
Thank you. Are you, Councilmember Hamilton, are you understanding the motion?
Yes.
Thank you.
I just don't know if I'm supporting it yet.
Okay, I just want to thank you, Councilmember Dolan.
I will support that motion based on the fact that if it's a candidate that we would review, that we would be willing to pay some logistical fees, based on their credentials. Is that basically what Mr. Dolan said in his motion?
If,
I would say no.
if I may, I believe that the motion on the table is to not provide logistical fees and transportation for an interview. And the motion is void of anything further than that. If the candidate is accepted, if there's entered into a contract with GovHR, whatever comes from there, it will be back to Village Council for consideration and discussion.
Essentially, they get here. If we're blown away, we contemplate further
Let's
expenditures.
move forward. I'll support it as is. It's 5 o'clock.
Okay, we have a motion by Dolan, supported by Kennis. Do you want to do roll call?
Sure. Councilmember Kennis.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Helmuth.
No.
Councilmember Dolan.
Yes.
Council President.
No.
There's a 2-2, the motion fails.
I would like to say that when we were interviewing these two gentlemen, I was also very concerned about the cost of travel expenses. And I'm a step ahead of you guys because I have seen the resumes. And I do think you should get all the resumes, look through them. I think we're to a point where we've got to move. And you haven't liked what we brought you so far. We're reaching out farther to get more people. I don't think $500 is a huge expense. We're not going to put them in at the Renaissance Center or some big hotel. It's an air flight from Chicago. Our manager can make an expenditure of $500 without coming to council for it. And I think we just need to get all the information presented to us, make a decision. I'm not saying we want to put them up somewhere for months, and by any means. But we need to get the right person here to interview, so we can pick the right person. And if this is what it takes, this is what it takes.
Is there a motion in that?
I have not made a motion yet.
Well, I obviously agree with Mo. I think time is of the essence. And we're cutting it really short by even having somebody here to start the 1st of August. That's 2 weeks away.
Transportation costs. Is there a reason automotive transportation is out of the question, considering the fact that their a 45-minute interview and their back is not even an 8-hour workday? Is there any reason we focused in on air travel?
Well, it's 57 cents a mile, so it's gonna cost you more to pay for their automotive.
It's 150 on the train. There and back. Just saying.
How about I'll make a motion to authorize an expenditure up to $500 for travel, means of the candidate's own choice, with subsequent costs to be determined by the quality of the candidate in later evaluation.
I'll support that.
Is there any discussion? Okay, we have a motion by Dolan, supported by Helmuth. James, do you want to do roll call?
Councilmember Kennis.
Yes.
Councilmember Helmuth.
Yes.
Councilmember Dolan.
Yes.
Council President.
Yes.
Can we get all the resumes to Eric and Tom?
Yeah, I can
tonight?
email
I mean,
them. For the two that we're going to interview next week. I mean, we only have 2 candidates for interim.
But there's more than 2 that you've looked at, right? Or
He's-
Or not for interim. We've only looked at 2 for the interim position.
I would just like to see them all. Anything that's open right now. Anyone that you've talked to or looked at, I would just like to see them all and go over it. It's what I've done for a living for 40 years.
he can do that.
Okay. Public comment? Council comments? Tom?
I have none.
Mo?
No, thank you.
Eric?
James, thank you for everything that you've done. I appreciate you bringing such a high-quality clerk candidate to us. I appreciate the fact that you have worked with this individual and that she comes recommended from you. Today was an encouraging step for me because I feel as if there is a sense of impending doom if we don't take action. I personally feel seeking the proper candidate is the right cost and the right step, regardless of how long this takes. I feel that we have been hanging on with a Band-Aid for many years anyways. So in my opinion, this is nothing new. I think we have found the right candidate in the clerk, and I would be encouraged that at whatever cost it takes, and no matter how much time, we find the right candidate for manager so we can assemble an acceptable leadership team. Thank you for everything you've done.
Sue, may I?
I'm just going to agree with Eric, and you're welcome. Tom?
I just wanted to welcome Drew and thank James for all his efforts and actually coming in face forward and not just taking it in her own job. And I also have to give props to CJ for just keeping everything real and just being on top of the village council and part of our community. And that's all I got, nothing more than that. I've
Okay.
never agreed with him before.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. at
Second.
5:05.
Support.
We have a motion by Helmuth, supported by Dolan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.